What's up, guys? Another work Wednesday. So I'm just starting out my day. I kind of have a little routine. I work in my basement. Um, it's often chilly down here, so I always turn on my little space heater just to get a little warm. I always gotta have the TV on just to give me some background noise. And then, of course, you can't see them all, but I have three screens here. I've got my laptop, and it plugs into these other two screens. So really, like I told you before, mostly what I do is marketing, day in and day out. But also, I kind of just manage the business. When I'm available, I always put my transactions. So let me back up. So I use Podio for my CRM. Okay, and I've spent close to 30 grand on my Podio at this point. But it does everything you could ever want, and mostly fully automated for the most part. So what I typically do is I'll bring up my transactions page on one screen, just so I can kind of monitor all the transactions we have, currently in escrow. And also, it's an easier at glance look of the overall numbers as well. So I kind of use it as a little glance KPI type of deal, um, just to get an overview of what we've closed this month, what lead source it came from, the actual profit on it, um, and all those kind of things, like which acquisition manager got the deal, and that kind of stuff. And then on the right side of the screen, I always put my acquisitions workspace because they have their own workspace as well. So every position in the company, as far as the main positions, we have acquisitions, transaction coordinator, dispositions, and then we also have a texting workspace, which is separate. I used to have VAs run that, but and it's pretty automated because a lot of it, is just canned responses that we have in there because we send out blast text messages, at least 5,000 every day. But anyways, so it's canned responses in our texting platform, and that typically, there's just you just click on a button and it sends them the text reply. But I just found that it's just easier to have acquisitions do that. So now my acquisitions actually have two workspaces. They have their normal acquisitions workspace where all the main leads come in every day, and then they have the texting workspace, which the texting workspace is more of it's a blast. It's everything that we do. So once a lead actually becomes hot or kind of ready to go, then they can just push a button from the texting workspace that'll push that lead into the actual acquisition workspace. And obviously it's assigned to a certain rep once they start communicating with the seller. So then that goes into our regular acquisitions workspace. It just helps us keep only the hot leads in our acquisition workspace, and that's the goal. Hot leads and the ones that we're nurturing, of course. But then we have our dispositions workspace that I usually put on my laptop, because I usually have our dispo workspace and our actual dispo website. And if you haven't seen that video, I told you about the dispo game changer. So that's what I always have on this one. And really, it's almost kind of micromanaging, and I hate that because I don't want to be that person. But at the same time, I built this business from zero, from the ground up, and it took me a while to get it to where we're at now, as far as the systems and the processes that we currently have. So I just want to make sure that everybody is on their game, and I'm like I said, I'm not trying to micromanage, but if I see something that's just not right, or I see a lead that comes in, it's sitting there for a couple of minutes, I'm probably going to say something because especially on like pay-per-click leads, those especially are like you got to contact those people right away, because if we don't, a lot of times they ghost us. Because if they're on Facebook or if they're on Google, searching for a company to buy their house, they're super distressed and they're ready to go, they're probably going to go somewhere else if they don't get a reply right away, or whatever. So if they fill out a form, they've got to do that. Anyways, so I'm just going through my morning. I always one of the first things I do also every morning. So really, I have spreadsheets that manage all of my rentals and flips. Okay, And obviously, we're spending money every single day on one of those two things, typically flips. So, what I usually do is pull up my business account. I use Chase, and I also have my spreadsheet. So, my spreadsheet, my bookkeeper and my accountant have access to the same spreadsheet. So, it's a live spreadsheet because I keep it in Dropbox. So, the folder is shared between me, my bookkeeper, and my accountant. So that's a live spreadsheet that's constantly changing every day. So they see live updates as I make them. So so really, I just end up managing projects is a lot of what I do. Yeah, I could probably have somebody else do it, but at the same time, I have GCs that kind of lead the show. But really, what I do is I just document everything that's spent. If they go to Home Depot, I have an account there where I can just press one on my phone, and it will text me. Or if I'm busy and I can't reply and they know that, then they call my transaction coordinator, and she's got authorization to make that happen as well, so they can still make that purchase. But I really just go through my my bank statement every day, because we have deposits coming in from rentals. And yeah, I could probably get an admin assistant or something to do this, and I probably will eventually. But for now, I don't really trust anyone with my bank account. And I want to make sure it's all done correctly. But, eventually, as we scale higher and bigger, I'll probably need to find somebody else to do that, because that tends to take up a lot of my time. But really, I'm looking on here for anything that was spent that I haven't already put in here yet. And then the spreadsheet, I've got every property on its own tab, so that I could just type in what was spent on what project. So like yesterday, I spent $650 on a project in Tulsa. I actually bought a church in Tulsa, believe it or not. So we were trying to wholesale this deal. Actually, we were trying to hotel it. It was a vacant property we had on the MLS for a while. Never did sell it, but I went ahead and just closed on it myself a couple weeks ago because it was still a good deal. And I found out the reason why it didn't sell. And this is one of the mistakes you can learn from my mistake, because it cost me probably 10 grand. So what happened was this church. So in Tulsa, I have a brother-in-law that lives there. I had him walk the property for me, take pictures, and do a video. But that was close to a year ago at this point, just because we had different issues going on throughout the year. I had to go through quiet title and all these different things that had to take place. So I finally closed on it, earlier this month, actually. I think it was early April. And my mistake was I should have had my brother-in-law go by there and take pictures and video for me again, so I can see today's current shape. Because you always want to do that. Once you get going, you'll know that buyers want to do a walkthrough the day of closing, or the day before, just to make sure everything's the same. Because for all you know, that the place could have burned down. It's not even there, and you're buying it. So that was my mistake. I didn't have him walk through because there was some issues there, to where somebody completely ransacked the place, stole all the copper out of the entire house, out of the entire church. So all the walls were torn up, the sheetrock ripped out. There was also the AC unit. They picked that apart completely, to where it was basically nothing. And anyway, so all the plumbing, heat and air, all messed up. Doors broken. Of course, it was wide open. Of course, someone caught a fire because whenever it was cold, trying to stay warm. Luckily, it didn't burn anything down, and it didn't really burn deep into walls or anything, but it caused smoke damage in the entire sanctuary. So we had to fix all that. So long story short, if I'd have known all that, I could have renegotiated with the seller for at least 10 grand less, because it cost me about 10 grand, to fix all that. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, and it's still a great deal. And I'm going to actually keep it as a rental. Maybe a startup church or a regular business can go in there as well, because it's got a big sanctuary room, which you can use for whatever, like a showroom or something. It's got 2 good sized offices. It's got 2 bathrooms, and it's got what used to be a kitchen. We took the plumbing out and stuff just so it's kind of another big room. It could be like a conference room or something. Then it's got a second little building beside it, which is just wide open. They can use for storage or other showroom type of things. So it's a pretty cool place, and it didn't cost a ton. So so yeah, I looked at my bank statement. It looks like that's the only new thing, and I already put that in. So really, I don't put in everything for my bank, because my accountant also obviously has that as well. But I just try to keep track on my spreadsheet, and that's mostly it's for my accountant and my bookkeeper. But it just manages like these rentals and the flips, so it shows every penny that we spend, so they can be put in the right place. That way they can update, QuickBooks and all that kind of thing. So then over here, I'm just checking on, my acquisitions. So what we have is we have contacted leads and uncontacted. They're categorized that way, just so we know if it's a new lead or if it's an uncontacted lead from one of our previous, leads that are already in the system. But then our main category, like we have a hot leads queue, so it's all new leads coming in, and it's our interested leads that we're actively working, and those. So really, it's our brand new leads and our super hot leads. Okay, we call them valid interested. So right now we have 69 leads in that queue, which is stupid high. It shouldn't ever be that high, unless it really is that high, which is probably not. So our goal is to always clean that up every day. Our goal is to move those leads into the appropriate column. Okay, because we have valid leads, which just means it's a valid lead. We know it's a lead because it came to our system, but we need to put that somewhere. They're either going to be interested or probably not interested, because they wouldn't be in our system at all. So they're going to be interested, or they're not ready yet, so we need to nurture that lead, or we need to close it out because we're just too far apart, or maybe it's in a rural area to where we don't buy, those kind of things. So really, our hot leads queue is exactly that. It's brand new leads that just came in, or it's hot leads that we think we will be able to close in the next 30 to 45 days. So 69 leads in the next 30 to 45 days. That'd be awesome. Probably not practical and not real, that we're going to get 69 deals in the next 30 to 45 days. But that would be amazing if it was. So anyways, they just need to clean that up. And because we want to put those in nurture, because, last week I was setting up these drip campaigns for Jake. But all acquisition managers have 4 of their own drip campaigns. Okay, they've got them for hot leads. They've got 2 different ones for nurture, and they've got one for a little higher distress. If it's going to a tax sale for whatever reason, or a foreclosure sale. That kind of thing. But anyway, so uncontacted could be those. It could be somebody replying to one of those drip campaigns. So we have to that just alerts us saying, hey, it's time to reply, because they raise their hand again, right? So anyways, I'm always monitoring this, and because sometimes our RVM leads come into here, and for whatever reason it doesn't always have every bit of information, and I can usually look that up because we use Roar for our RVMs. So I just kind of keep those open just in case if I need to look it up, and also keep my call rail. They use ZenCall to make outbound calls, and my cold callers to make outbound calls as well, but I just use CallRail because it's easy for me, but everybody else uses ZenCall. Of course, we all use CallRail for our tracking system. I'm just talking about if I need to make or receive a call, I just always have that open. So if I do get a call on my personal main, CallRail cell phone, it's what I use for work, then it just rings on my phone here on my computer, because like I said, I'm in the basement, so it's terrible service down here. So I'm just setting myself up for success, I guess, on that respect, because a lot of people can't hear if I try to use my actual cell phone. Then another thing I do every morning is, I'll do random posts, and this is kind of one of my secrets. Not really a secret, because there's other people that do it as well, and they do have bots out there that can do this for you, which I do not ever recommend, because I did that before. And people just know it's a bot because it's like automated replies, and it's just stupid. It doesn't really work out. Sorry, I'm gonna get a drink. I always drink a ton of water. But So anyways, so yeah, I do random posts, and I've got, you know, dozens of different posts that I open up just in like a Word doc or whatever. Well, that's a PowerPoint doc. And then I just create a post in a random Facebook group. You know, I'll do a few of these every single day just to see if I can, get some response from it, and it works. You know, just like anything else, you got to do it consistently. So it's kind of a pain in the butt. This is one of the things that I was thinking about having my assistant do, but the only downfall of doing that is they would have to have access to my personal Facebook account, because this is just on my personal Facebook. So yeah, I'm posting this in a random group. I'll tell you what it says. It says, "Got a rental with tenants that destroyed your house? I love working on those, but I'd rather buy it. PM me for a cash offer today." So it's just a random post I do in a couple of Facebook groups. And I do that same post in several of them, but I do have a spreadsheet to monitor that, so I know exactly what posts I do every day, what group I put it in. I usually do it a couple times a day in most cases if I have time. I do one in the morning and do one in the evening. Sometimes I forget the evening, but I'm always working in the morning for sure. But it works, but it does take up time. So, I do need to have, that's why people use those bot systems, but those are terrible. You end up getting locked out of your own Facebook. And then, people know it's a bot because it's all the same replies every time, and it's just stupid. Because I did that for a while. It was a joke, to be honest. But yeah, I need to probably just give my assistant access to my Facebook group, and just gotta trust, he's been with me for a year and a half now, so just gotta trust that, he won't do anything else crazy on my Facebook, which I don't think he would. He's a good guy. But so yeah, I just copy and paste that in every one of these same groups. So that's really it. And then I just document those, like, an AM post, what background I use or what message I used or whatever it might be. Today's the 28th. I gotta find that date. Okay. So that's really it. I use the blue fade, and I think number one, I just go through my whole list because I've got dozens of them. I just start back at the top and do a different reply every day. So it is a pain in the butt, but it is effective, and that's the reason I do it. And it becomes redundant sometimes as well, because then I've got to not only document what I'm doing on here, but I've also got to put that into Podio manually. So every lead that we have that comes into Podio is automatic, because we have all these things in place, which I haven't found a way to actually move something from my personal Facebook into Podio. Obviously, if it comes on our business page, that can be done, but in my personal page, I'm not real sure. So it's always a learning process. Also, here's another thing I've got to do. We just did a deal, and this is paperwork. Of course, we're completely digital, but so I do a lot of rent to own properties. So I bought this mobile home, and I bought it for $2,000, and it was somewhat remodeled already, but not fully remodeled. Anyways, I decided to sell it as is. So I had somebody go in and take pictures for me. I had someone take a walkthrough video, so I had good data for that, good something to show. And I just put it on Facebook Marketplace. So I bought it for $2,000. Had some, transfer fees and things like that. So I'm probably all in for like $2,100, something like that, to be honest. It's pretty low. But anyways, we found someone on Facebook, because we get hundreds of replies. So I've got a rent to own website, and all the Facebook stuff. That takes up part of my day as well, because I'll get a Facebook message, like I've got a couple right now, that are people are interested in our properties, because I have several rent to own properties throughout different areas that we put on Facebook Messenger or Facebook Marketplace. Anyways, they always reply. So I just copy and paste, because I've got just a set reply right there, because they usually just do, they're like, hey, Graylan, is this still available? So I just copy and paste. Yes, but if you're interested, please fill out this short form. It's not an application, just basic questions. And then it's got a link to my website to that form. So anyways, we get tons of forms filled out. I mean, we probably have over 100 form fills per property. So it's crazy. But what it does is they weed themselves out, because those questions that I ask on there basically tells me, what they're currently paying for rent or mortgage. And also it tells me just how much they make, how much money they make. And I also ask on there, like, what's the very most you can put down for a down payment on your new home? So you want them to, take ownership. And then what's the most you can pay per month? So they kind of weed themselves out. And I give them multiple choice, right? I have A, B, and C, like certain properties. Like, for example, one of them I have, like the minimum down is $7,500. And the monthly on that is $950. But they can choose $10,000 and make it, $900, something like that. So anyways, they weed themselves out, and because some of them will put, I can't do any of these. All I can do is 2,000. So I don't call those people back at all, right? The ones I can do, like the most down, are the ones that get the phone calls. So anyways, so this lucky person, for this mobile home, obviously this was a lot less, because it isn't a park, and the lot rent's only $225, and it doesn't include water or anything else like a lot of them do. This one's just $225. Which is stupid cheap. I pay $550 on some of them, but excuse me. But so I paid $2,000 for this. Like, I wanted like a minimum of $2,500 down on this property, right? And then the payment was like $550 to $600 based on what they put down. And then so the down payment's going to pay me back for the entire property. Okay. So these people actually did. I agreed to let them do $2,500 down, but they had to pay the first month up front, which was $550 in this case. They also had to pay the taxes. They had to pay the closing costs, because I have my actual disposition manager is she does all my rent-to-own closings for me. She's a notary, so I have her do that. So I've got the purchase agreement. I actually have a real estate mortgage that we put in place, and I've got a promissory note. And I also have, the amortization schedule throughout the entire loan. So everything I do is on the 15-year loan, and it's 12% interest rate. So they paid $2,500 down, plus the closing costs, plus the first month up front, all that kind of stuff. So it ended up being like $3,300 down. Okay, and like I said, I paid $2,000, so I've already made money, right? Had to pay a little bit to close it, so I'm still up over $1,000 either way you look at it. And then they're going to pay me $550 per month for the next 15 years, 180 months. Of course, $225 of that goes directly to the lot rent, but $325, $425, $525. So I'm making $325 per month cash flow on that property, and I already got paid back for it. So it's just cash flow. Okay, that's all it is. So that's the name of the game, really. Wholesaling is amazing, and I'll never stop doing it, because it gives me those big paydays, and it pays for mobile homes. It pays for my rentals. It pays for my flips. Just like the church, I paid for that in cash, and the entire remodel was done in cash. So I own that church free and clear, and I've already gotten calls, people wanting to rent or wanting to buy potentially. And I'm all in on that project for probably $40,000 on that church, which is crazy cheap. But yeah, I've already got people calling, and I told someone that I would probably rent it for $1,500 a month or so. And my insurance on it is $75. Taxes on it are next to nothing. I think they're $300 to $400 a year. So that'd be a good cash flowing property either way you look at it. And they actually asked, like, well, would you sell it? Like, I don't really want to sell it, but if I did, maybe $100,000, minimum, because I'm in it for 40. But I don't really want to sell it. I don't want that 60,000. I don't need it. I'd rather make, over $1,000 a month on it forever. So that's probably what I'll do because I don't need the cash right now. So, anyways, not trying to ramble on. I'm just kind of showing y'all, it's another work Wednesday. This is what I do. Do this stuff every day. So just getting set up. Of course, I'm going to scan all this in because we are paperless. I don't need this. It's just really for the seller. And we did need it notarized, so I'll probably file it. I usually don't keep paper like when I close on a normal house. I just keep the deed. But either way, we scan everything in. Everything that we do is kept in Dropbox. So different departments have access to different things, obviously, and I have access to everything. So I'll just keep this and scan it into Dropbox, and I'll probably keep the parts that we needed to notarize just in an actual paper file. So anyways, that's really it. I'm going to do a couple more of these Facebook posts and just kind of making sure everything is good to go and every other part. And then that's really it. It's pretty simple. That's what I'm going to do most of today. I do have a couple of to-do items on my list. I'm just following up on some deals that my disposition manager got yesterday. A couple of properties, she sold one in Oklahoma City and she sold another one in, where was that one? I think it was in Maryland yesterday. So between those two properties, our assignment fees are like $75,000 or something like that between those two, which is really awesome because, our average is typically 15 to 20 per deal, and both of those were well over our average. So that's really awesome. She's excited. Obviously, acquisitions, they're assigned, they're excited because that was two different acquisition managers on those two deals. So everybody gets paid, everybody's happy, seller gets what they want. Our buyers are super happy because they're getting either a cash flowing property or a good property they can flip. And obviously, acquisition is going to get their cut, dispose getting their cut, and transactions get their cut, and the company gets their cut. So anyways, hopefully didn't ramble on too much, but just sharing you some knowledge that I'm doing for the day. If you want to know more about anything that I discussed, definitely drop me a comment. Be glad to share it with you. And otherwise, I'll see you guys in a couple days.